even stronger. With information disclosure and exciting social and technological changes, science can develop further and more rapidly. If the education system can adapt to these changes that occur. Actually, since initial 2000, when the scientific journal doesn't print again, we gradually enter to the online learning system, but we do not aware that we gradually enter to the system. And now with the COVID-19, we are going faster to the online system. Okay, by developing the complete dimension of humanity, UMKT is expected to become an alternative and superior education center, which is able to shape Indonesian people in accordance with the need of the nation. All of this to build the quality of human resource that are superior, religious, modern, and understand to nation problem. Okay, that is all. Now let's officially open the international webinar by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. Enjoy this webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Babang Setiaji, is the Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. And ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the main agenda, and it will be guided by our moderator, Sudarman MED. He is graduated from Chulalongkorn University of Thailand, one of the lecturers of the Faculty of Education and Teacher Training, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. Sudarman MED, please take your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sudarman. It's an honor to be the moderator for our today's webinar under the theme, the development and implementation of teaching and learning process to face new normal. Ladies and gentlemen, time flies. Now we are having a webinar in July 2020. Which means we are already past the 6 months of 2020. Then, what is so special about this year? Yes, exactly. As we know that 2020 is the year that we will remember for the rest of our life, including maybe it's the most frustrating years, frightening, or maybe challenging. Okay. It's all because of the COVID-19 pandemic that extremely affected all of the areas of human lives, including education. The schools are closed and the teaching learning activities are shifted from offline to online. Even though the case of COVID-19 varies across the nations, some countries are finally in the process of facing a new normal due to the uncertainty of when its pandemic will end. Then, how is the process of teaching and learning later? How shall we, teachers, educational practitioners, prepare ourselves for facing the new normal? How should we implement an effective method and techniques in the new normal? We will have the expert, our keynote speaker, and the other two speakers to further talk about this. Today, we are really happy to have a well-known, experienced keynote speaker, Dr. Willy Ardian Rinandia, as well as two other speakers, Mr. Arminder Siwa, Master of Education, and Professor Ali Sauka. We would like to inform you all that after the presentation of our speakers, we will have a Q&A session. So if you have any inquiries related to our topic today, please kindly write down your question through the chat below. Okay, first of all, let me briefly introduce you to our keynote speaker today. Dr. Willy Ardian is the principal lecturer of National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technological Institute, Singapore. He completed his bachelor degree from Fkip Umkt, Yogyakarta, and got his master degree at the same institution in 1982. Then he took his second master degree in teaching English as a second language from University of Hawaii, Manoa, USA in 1989. In 1992, he got his doctoral degree in educational psychology from University of Wisconsin-Madison, United States. His expertise is in English language teaching, especially in extensive reading, second language acquisition, and many more. He has published a lot of works, including journal articles, books, papers that I cannot read one by one because it will take hours. So many. He is also a journal reviewer and editor for many prestigious international journals. So, as a conclusion for this introduction, I would like just say we are lucky to have him today in this webinar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please give applause from home and let's invite Dr. Willy Rinandia. Okay, Dr. Willy, how are you? Dr. Willy? We cannot hear you, Dr. Willy. I think your computer is still muted.
Okay, now?
Okay, good.
Good, yeah. Okay. Yes,
Okay,
good
Dr.
afternoon,
Willy.
ladies. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited to be here today, and thank you so much, Pak Sudarman, for the introduction. I met him about 2 or 3 years ago when I gave, a guest lecture at the university where he was studying for his master's in education. I remember meeting him and also his wife.
Yep.
They were very, very happy couple studying in Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to begin by sharing with you a very, very common expression that you have heard before, I'm sure. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I think teachers are tough people. They know, I know that the times are difficult now, but we are in it together, and we will be looking at this as a great opportunity for us to learn a lot of new things during the pandemic. The title of my presentation is Teaching in Blended Learning Environment. Let me begin by showing you this very familiar setting, the classroom. I think we are familiar with this setting. We've been doing this for many, many years. And we are also familiar with the integration or the use of technology in the classroom. I think many of us in education have seen ourselves using some form of technology, the computer, the internet, to help with the learning and the teaching that happens in the traditional classroom. However, none of us is ready for this. I don't think many of us are ready when the pandemic hit us and everything that we used to do will now have to be turned into online learning or remote learning. Can you please raise your hands if you have been teaching using Zoom or other video platform? What has been your report card or what have been our report cards so far? Do you think you've done an excellent job, a good job, an okay job, or a poor job? Answer, please. Good job, bad job, okay job, poor job. Please do not worry too much if you feel that you have not been doing a good job, or if you've been doing a very bad job. I am not surprised, and nobody should be surprised as well. In June last month, I read a report from the Wall Street Journal. This is one of the well-respected newspapers in the US, and the report carried an assessment of the remote learning activities that had been going on earlier this year. The verdict is this. There you go. The results are in for remote learning. It did not work. So sad, isn't it? The pandemic, in fact, has forced school into a crash course in online education. For many of them, it's more like a huge experimentation, and there's a lot of problems that people encounter, and a lot of people find it very hectic and also very, very stressful. Now, why is that? Now, this is, to me, very interesting. When I read the newspaper report, these are some of the few things that I think we need to be aware of. Number one, remote learning is vastly different from in-person learning. Vastly means very, very, very different. Something that we have not done before. So it's not a big surprise that many of us are caught unprepared. Number two, there's a lot of things that teachers don't know very much about. What used to be something that you're very familiar with, the students are there with you, you know how to interact with them, you know how to deliver your lessons in a face-to-face situations, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a very, very different situations where the usual feedback that you receive from your students is no longer there. And teaching can be very frustrating. And there's one thing from the report that I like very much. Now, this is good for us to know so that you don't feel guilty when something bad happens to your online lesson. For most of these people, teaching online is like learning to build a plane, and also at the same time learning how to fly the plane. So these are two things that are extremely difficult to do. Building a plane is very difficult, and learning how to fly a plane is extremely difficult as well. So do not be surprised. It is almost an impossible job for every single one of us. Now, here are some of the more important reasons for the failure. Remember, this happened in the US. So imagine what happened in many other places in the world, including Indonesia. Look at this. Amazing, isn't it? About 20% of the students in the US have very limited access or no access to the internet, or many of them do not have the basic equipment for remote learning. And when you ask parents to look after student learning at home, this is what happens. Teachers are not trained to become teachers. Parents are not trained to become teachers. So they do whatever they can. In the meantime, they're also juggling many, many things at home and also in the office. And many of the teachers are caught unprepared as well. Now, even experienced teachers look like complete newbies. People who have had 20 years of teaching experience, who are excellent teachers, but when they have to turn to online teaching, all of a sudden they become like a baby that is learning how to walk. There's also minimal support from the school. And this, the last point is, I think to me, is very interesting. Yes, we often talk about children being digital natives, but in actuality, in reality, they are users, they are digital users, they are digital consumers, but they are not yet digital learners. Let me share with you a very interesting research that I saw recently. Just to get the point across that print reading is different from screen reading. Print reading means reading from books, and screen reading means reading from maybe from your gadget, maybe from your mobile gadget, maybe from your laptop, maybe from your iPad computers and things like that. Now, what is interesting to me is this: the researchers ask these very important questions. Which one is more effective in facilitating deeper? The keyword here is deeper comprehension. What is your best guess? Print or screen reading? Sudarman, answer please. Print reading or screen reading?
Print reading,
what?
I think.
Yeah?
Print reading. Print reading.
Print reading, yes. I think you're absolutely right. For deeper comprehension, apparently our students are very good. I mean, they are used to using the old technology, book reading, very well. But when it comes to screen reading, they get very, very easily distracted. They are not used to learn using the digital technology. So that's just one point. In the same way, teachers are also digital consumers. I mean, teachers use Facebook, teachers use WhatsApp, teachers use a lot of digital technology, but they have little opportunities to use these tools for actual classroom teaching. The way forward, so where does that leave us? I think here are a few things that I need to remind ourselves. Number one, blended learning will be increasingly more popular in the future. Whether we like it or not, it's going to be here. I think the pandemic, we should thank the pandemic in a way, because that will speed up the process of the integration of technology into the classroom. It will not be purely online. It will be a blended type of teaching that we will see happening in the classroom in the future. Another important point is this. I think this point number 2 is extremely relevant, because we are looking at learning in the classroom and also learning outside the classroom. Very, very important. Learning outside the classroom, I think, is going to become increasingly more important in education, for a simple reason that knowledge is not just confined to the classroom or to the school, but knowledge is everywhere. Now, our job as a teacher is to help our students to develop sufficient literacy in digital information, how to find information, how to screen information, how to select information, and how to use information in responsible ways. And we also want to help our students to become more critical readers and also more responsible users of the digital technology. Let me now move on to sharing with you a very nice framework for teaching. Now, this applies to either normal traditional teaching and also to e-teaching. Number 1, e-teaching employs e-learning as a medium to provide information. This is the very basic, purpose of e-learning, just to provide simple information. Number 2, as a form of occasional online communication, maybe checking your students using WhatsApp, for example. Hey, have you done your homework? Maybe you put information on the on the internet for the students to access and download. This is fine, no issue with that. The third one is extremely important. The third one is how we employ e-learning to engage students in online discussion. I think this is one point that I will highlight. I will say a bit more later. How we can use technology as a way to increase the quality and also the quantity of knowledge exchange, if you like. And the last one, very important, is the use of technology or e-learning as a medium to support knowledge building tasks. Yeah, it's the last two that enables us to really spend time helping our students to develop what is known as deep learning. Not superficial learning, but really, really deep learning. We can help our students to develop complex, not superficial understanding of real world problems, problems that are really interesting, that are really of relevance to their lives, to society, to the community, and also to the country. And this is the kind of learning that requires deep thinking, critical analysis, synthesis, and also evaluation. That is my introduction, ladies and gentlemen. For the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you, I will focus on the teacher, you and me, the teachers, because to me, the teachers continue to be the most important people in the classroom, in education. So I'm going to focus on the teachers, and I'm going to focus on 3 aspects of the teachers. What is it that a good teacher has in their head? What is it that good teachers have in their heart? And finally, what is it that good teachers need to have the skill, the hands, in order to carry out their duties in the classroom, whether now or in the new normal in the future. Let me begin with the head. What do we need to have in our head today? There are 4 things here, and I'm going to go through them very quickly. Number 1 is professional knowledge. Number 2, you need to have a set of principles for you to carry around and use these principles as a basis for you to develop your lessons, to develop your activities and things like that. And number 3 and number 4, very important, every time you teach, you need to remember that we are now in the 21st century era, and you need to include the key competencies that we need to get across to our students, yeah? Okay, let me begin with the first one, the head. The head, we need to have a lot of professional knowledge. What is that? For a teacher, I think most of you are familiar, for a teacher, you need at least 2 types of knowledge. Number 1, content knowledge of your subject matter. And number 2, pedagogical knowledge. And number 3, pedagogical content knowledge. 3, yeah? I think most of us were trained in this tradition. We need to have 3 types of knowledge. Again, content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and also pedagogical content knowledge. Today, we should not limit ourselves to these 3 because there's another one that is important. It's called TPAC. Technology is there for us to make use of, and technology is going to stay with us for many, many years to come, and we need to add that to our existing professional knowledge. It's called TPAC. How we can integrate our knowledge of the content, whether it's science, mathematics, or language, and also the pedagogy usually associated with the teaching of this content, and how we can transform the way we teach using technology. So that will be the TPAC. I think you have heard about this, and to me, I think that will be the future for us to look forward to. If you don't have this yet, I think it's good for you to start thinking about how you can enrich yourself and equip yourself in how you can use technology to enhance your teaching in the classroom. As I said early on, many of our students are digital users. They are not digital learners yet. In the same way, many of us teachers, we are digital users, but we are not digital teachers yet. Let me now share with you 6 principles of good teaching. There are many more out there, but I'm going to share with you these 6 principles that are, to me, very important yesterday, today, and also in the future. Whether you do online or offline or in-class learning, the 6 principles are going to be very important. 6 of them up there. Yeah. Okay, let me go through them one by one. Let me begin with the first one. I think you know this, that this is extremely important, that learning, the best kind of learning that can happen in the classroom is when you are able to address the different individual needs of your students. I think in the old days, we were trying to address their needs using what has been called differentiated teaching. But I think with technology, things may be easier now. We can use technology to address the different needs of our students in the classroom. Number two, another important principle for us to remember, engaged learning. Learning happens in the classroom when the students are mentally engaged, when the students are emotionally engaged, and when the students are socially engaged as well. I was reminded of this 90-90 rule. An excellent teacher is somebody who is able to keep 90% of the students engaged 90% of the times. That is what a great teacher is able to do. Next, the next one is authentic learning. I think we need to keep that in mind, whether you teach science, whether you teach mathematics, whether you teach history, whether you teach language. I think the kind of learning that happens in your classroom will have to be authentic. I think our students find education uninteresting or schooling uninteresting because most of the time we engage students in what has been called doing school instead of doing life. Doing school is not a bad thing. Doing school means doing the kind of things that students need to do in the classroom. Homework exercises, reading course books and things like that. But I think we also need to have time for the students to explore real world tasks and important things that they can discuss and find out more about. The next one is feedback. This comes with your job, with your profession. Feedback. You need to provide frequent feedback, ongoing feedback, again and again, until eventually your students are able to do things on their own. Do not look at feedback as an additional piece of work that you have to do. Feedback is actually an opportunity for your students to learn and relearn from you. The key word here is relearning. First time around, the students learn something from you. That knowledge is very, very weak, very, very fragile. So you need to reinforce by providing a lot of feedback to your students. Next one. Now this is a recent thing, flipped learning. I think flipped learning is wonderful. So what happens here is you send information, materials to the students before your lesson, so that the students come to you prepared. And because of that, you are able to use classroom time for a more deeper discussion for knowledge building in the classroom. So the kind of learning that happens usually is quite deep and also robust. Finally, collaborative learning is another important principle you need to remember. A one-way street, the teacher talking to the students is okay, it's not a bad thing. But if you really believe about the social nature of learning, then you need to add this very, very important element in learning. Keeping in mind that knowledge is socially constructed. Okay, as I mentioned early on, as part of your knowledge, your head will also need to be equipped with knowledge and skills of how you can impart, how you can teach your students, how you can help your students understand the importance of the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. I don't think you need a special separate course for this. Every single teacher will need to include this, to integrate some aspect of this in their teaching. When you teach history, add something about criticality. When you teach arts, add something about creativity. When you teach mathematics, add something about collaboration. And when you teach language, of course, communication is extremely important. And finally, the last C is also extremely important: culture. The way we think, the way we do things is very much influenced by our culture. So a deeper understanding of the culture of our students is going to be very important when you prepare your lessons. That is the head, ladies and gentlemen. Can I ask you to touch your head now? We're done with the head. All of you, please touch your head. Yes. Okay, your head should be filled with a lot of professional knowledge. Remember? The head. Moving on now to the second one. The heart of a teacher. This is exciting. The heart of the teacher reminds me of an expression again in English, the heart of the matter. Masalahnya yang utama. The heart of the matter is a matter of the heart. Mengajar menjadi guru itu masalah hati katanya. It's a matter of your heart. So the heart is extremely important. The heart. Let me tell you something. This is really interesting. A teacher went to see a doctor, and an X-ray was done, and the doctor said something like this: your heart is slightly bigger than the average human heart, but that is okay because you are a teacher. Remember, teachers, you have a big heart, and that is one of the most important things that you have in your profession, in your job as a teacher. I have two things for you in relation to the heart. The teacher with a big heart has a passion for teaching, number one. And number two, has a passion for learning as well. These two things go hand in hand very nicely together. Let me begin with the first one. Passion for teaching. How do you show your passion in your teaching? You may not be aware, but your students are looking at you every day, and your students are describing you using adjectives like this. Whether or not you are a caring teacher. Yes, times are tough, you tell your students, but I'm here for you. If you have a difficult time studying at home, I am here for you. Give me a call, and I'm going to be there for you to help. Rapport is another important thing. Rapport is good, healthy relationship with their students. You know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, you know their academic performance. We also know their home, situations, their home conditions. Number three, interestingly, teachers are supposed to be humorous people. Although my experience is that I have seen many teachers who are way too serious. So Darman here looks a bit serious to me. Are you a serious teacher or a humorous teacher? Now it's very important because research actually shows that students associate good teaching with humor. So teachers who can combine humor in their teaching is often perceived as a very good teacher. Next one, enthusiastic. Enthusiastic is, how do you say that in Bahasa Indonesia? Semangat sekali, penuh, antusias sekali. You walk into the classroom, you are so excited about your lesson, you are so excited about your students, and soon enough, your students also get very excited about learning with you. Next, very important, likable. Likability is extremely important. If your students like you, I think chances are very high that they will also want to learn a lot from you. So likability is very important. And finally, motivating. A teacher who is motivating. Always say things like, you did a good job. Keep trying. I think you are a wonderful, wonderful student. Motivation is very, very important. Let me share with you what motivation is, why motivation is important. I remember a senior educator who said this to me. There are three things in education that are so important. The first one is motivation. The second one, Sudarman, the second one is, what is the second one? Number one is motivation. Yes. Are you here, Sudarman? Are you here with me? Number one is motivation. Number two is, yeah, there you go, motivation. Sudarman, number three. Number three is, yes, motivation. So three things. Now this tells us very clearly that motivation is so important. Without motivation, no learning can happen in the classroom. Remember this. I've got here the 6 T's of motivation. Ada 6. Six T's of motivation. If you want to be a motivating teacher, then you need to have all these 6 T's to begin with. T, the teacher, you. I think you are probably the most important factor in the classroom. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you explain, the way you do things, the way you relate to your students, all of this has a lot of influence on your students' motivation. Your hairstyle, your dress, everything has a motivating effect on your students. Number 2, teaching innovation. That is the second T, yeah? Yang nomor 2 adalah teaching innovation. If you want to be motivating, then you should not be doing the same things again and again. You should innovate. You should try new things in the classroom. Not every day, because if you do new things every day, that can be very confusing. But you need to try to use teaching methods that you have not used before, that you may have seen used by other people, and these are very effective, for example. So teaching innovation. Yang nomor 3, the third T, is the text. Again, I think in today's world, you need to use texts that are multimodal in nature, because information nowadays is presented verbally and also non-verbally using audio, visual, and other images included in the text. The next T is the task. Try to find ways to make your task tech-mediated, using technology in a way that help your students to learn even more compared to what they used to learn from you in the traditional classroom. And finally, the tests. Yes, I think we should stay away from tests that are so traditional, that are so boring, that are so not very useful. In English language teaching, for example, bidang saya adalah pengajaran bahasa Inggris, I always tell my student teachers, stay away from multiple choice tests. Use it only once in a blue moon, sekali-sekali saja. But most of the time, your test should be more open-ended. Your test should be more authentic. If you teach English, then your test will have to be communicative in nature. A test that really tests students' ability to use language for communication. And finally, we also need to learn how to use technology, because technology can be really, really an exciting thing, and it can help your teaching become more motivating for your students. Okay, next. So that is the first part of the heart, passion for teaching. The second part is passion for learning. What does it mean, passion for learning? I think you have seen something like this before. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I am possible. Yeah. Yes, the times are tough. Learning, the many technological tools can be very challenging. But if other people have done it, if other people can do it, I think we can do it too. So nothing is impossible. So I would like to invite you to look at the current situations as a great opportunity for us to learn new things. I am learning a lot the past few weeks. There are many things that I wasn't very sure about, but I'm willing to learn. And remember that teachers are tough people. They are gritty people. Now, this one is very important. The word for you to remember is gritty. What do I mean by gritty? Let me show you this book. The name of the book is Grit. I think this for teachers in the world. If you are a teacher, get a copy of this book. This book is really, really wonderful. The author is a professor of psychology. I think she's from Pennsylvania University, USA. Her name is Angela Duckworth. It's an extremely powerful book. The book basically is looking at these two things. Number one, success is possible for everyone. Success is possible for you and for me. Success is not due to your social economic backgrounds or to your past education or to your talent or to your parents or things like that. Success is due to passion and perseverance. I think that to me, because it means that success is possible for everyone. If you are gritty, if you have the passion, and if you have the perseverance to go, to achieve your goal. This is what she says in a book that to me is extremely important. She says this: success requires sustained effort. Saya ulang ya. Success requires sustained effort. We are now learning a lot of things, and if we want to be successful in using technology for teaching purposes, then we need sustained effort. Now, here is what she says in her book. Very powerful. If you want to develop a skill, keterampilan apapun itu, a skill, yeah, swimming or playing music or learning how to teach, anything, a skill. I think you need a little bit of talent, not much, just a talent and effort, usaha. Effort is extremely important. Now, if you want to develop your skill further, and if you want to become very, very good, then you need another set of effort. If you want to be successful, if you want to achieve great success, then you need to put in extra effort. So effort here counts 2 times. The first time when you want to develop your skill initially, and when you want to become very good at it. And this is something that I will keep on repeating throughout my done the head and also the heart. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to touch your head and also your heart? And when you touch your heart, can you feel that your heart is getting bigger now? Yeah, it's getting bigger, right? Because you have this passion for teaching and also the passion for learning as well. The last one is the hands. The hands. The hands. The hands here refer to the actual things that you do. Remember that teaching is a skill. Remember that, yes, the head is important, the head and the heart are important, but teaching is a skill. Learning how to use technology is a skill. You need some training. Yeah, you need a lot of practice to do it. The hands are the key to successful teaching. And there's a lot of online tools that you need to learn, and there's a lot of online tools that you need to use them, learn how to use them in your teaching. Again, I was reminded by another book by Malcolm Gladwell, and the name of the book is Outliers. And in that book, he cited research studies that show the number of hours that the top athletes and the top musicians spend in their life before they become, very, very good athletes or musicians. They spend about 10,000 hours of supervised practice. Well, of course, you don't want to be, the number one, teacher in terms of your ability to use technology. But I think the message here is we need to spend time, we need to put in effort, we need some hours, we need to invest, some hours in order for us to learn how to use technology for teaching purposes. Let me introduce you to a colleague from UPI Bandung. UPI is Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Tapi menurut orang dalam itu sebetulnya universitas padahal Fkip. And the name of the lady here is Dr. Finita Devi. She is a lecturer of Fkip Bandung, and she is very, very good with technology. Please, if you need help, if your schools need help, do invite her. She is very good, she is very knowledgeable, about the many different tools that you will need in order to teach online or when you do Zoom teaching. Now here I asked her to tell me what are there are many tools out there, but I asked her to just tell me 5 tools that she finds extremely useful for online teaching. And she gave me these 5. Ada 5. Okay? And I asked her to, hey, can you come and share your thoughts today at our webinar? She says that she is busy elsewhere, but she has agreed to do a small video recording. There you go. Okay, now we are going to listen to her very briefly. This is like a 2-minute description of the 5 tools that she is using, that she finds really useful. Sorry.
Dr. Willie?
Yeah.
Maybe we will try to play the video from our server here.
Oh, you can't hear it?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'll send you the link later. Yeah. Okay, let me move on to the hands and share with you the kind of tips that we need to have in order for us to be teaching more successfully. Yeah, very practical ideas. Speak less. Teachers are very fond of teaching a lot in the classroom. In a normal traditional classroom, I think you can talk for about 20 minutes or 25 minutes, but in an online learning environment, I think you need to reduce that a great deal. About 10 minutes is maximum. With young children, maybe about 8 minutes. And that will allow students to have a more deeper appreciation of the whatever lesson that they're teaching. Number 2, extremely important. A lot of learning will have to be done before the students come to class. So make sure that they come prepared, so that you can engage them in a deeper type of learning. Number 3, remember collaboration. You need to increase the amount and also the quality of interaction in the classroom. Next one, add variety. Do not use the same thing. Do not do the same thing. Use a number of different tools to engage your students. Next, do not forget to ask your students for feedback. Their input is going to be very important. Remember, your students are also not used to learning, in a remote learning context. So you need to find out from them what is the most convenient and comfortable form of learning for your students. Keep in mind, we need a balance between synchronous and also asynchronous learning. Yeah, I think they need to go hand in hand together. And finally, you need to adopt the right mindset. Now here again, let me share with you another book by Professor Carol Dweck, very well-known professor. Here's a quiz for you. Can you write down the answer in the chat box, please? The biggest obstacle to success is, Sudarman, you can represent the audience. What is the answer here? The biggest obstacle to success is?
Ourselves.
You, yes, that's right. The biggest obstacle to success is you. And then the next thing that the book says actually is this, very interesting. Success depends on, yes, Sudarman? Success depends on, here is the title of the book, depends on your mindset.
Mindset.
Yes, depends on your mindset. What are we talking about mindset? Ini. Apparently from her research, she finds out that there are people out there who have this fixed mindset. Udah terkunci. They can't grow. They believe that they can't grow. And then, on the other hand, there are people who have a positive mindset, who have a growth mindset. Your abilities can develop, your intelligence can develop. Growing, we can keep growing until the day we die. I think that, to me, is a very, very important message for us teachers and also for us to tell our students that everyone is able to achieve great success if they believe that they can grow together with their friends and also with their teachers. Now, here are some of the differences between people who have fixed mindsets and people who have growth mindsets. People who have fixed mindsets tend to be, they avoid challenges, they give up easily, they see effort as fruitless, tidak berguna, and they feel that their abilities are fixed. I am from Kalimantan, and even then, not even in a big city, but in a very, very tiny village. What do you expect from me? I can't possibly grow. Fixed mindset, yeah? Growth mindset, on the other hand, you can see here on the screen, they persevere in the face of failures, they try again and again, and they believe that effort is needed, and they will find inspiration in others' success. If other people are successful, they are very happy, and they will go to them, and they will say, please teach me how to become successful as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I've come now to the end of my presentation. I have shared with you what a teacher needs to have professionally, emotionally, and also in terms of the skills that they need to pick up when they try to apply the new ways of teaching in the new normal. The head, let's touch our head again together. The head, the heart, can you feel your heart getting bigger now? And also the hands. Now here is the last one for you, just for you to enjoy. Remember this, times are difficult, there are a lot of things that are very uncertain, and you feel that you can't change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust the sails to reach your destination. If something doesn't work, do not blame others, but find ways to help you to move forward. And let us adjust the sails together, you and me and everyone in the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Sudarman, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Willie. It was a nice presentation. So one word that I love the most.
Clap, 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 please.
You have to clap. Come on, guys. We can keep growing our mindset until we die. It's so powerful for me. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Willie. It was a nice presentation. I believe we learned a lot from that. Okay, please stay on the screen because at the end of the presentation of the three speakers, we will have a question and answer sessions. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the next speaker, we would like to remind you again that after the presentation of our speakers, we will have a Q&A session. So, if you have any questions, just write them down below in the chats button. For those in YouTube, please write your question in the comment box. Okay. Okay, well, the next speaker is supposed to be Mr. Anwar Sanusi, the head of Education and Culture Department, Kalimantan Timur Province. Unfortunately, he cannot join us today because he has another agenda with the governor of Kalimantan Timur Province. So he will be represented by Mr. Armin Rasiwa, the staff of Education and Culture Department, Kalimantan Timur Province. He is currently working as the Chief of Communication, Technology, and Educational Information Unit, Education and Culture Department, Kalimantan Timur Province. He got his master degree from Universitas Mula Warman in 2008 and is currently working on his dissertation for his doctoral degree at the same institution. Good luck for the dissertation, Mr. Amin. He was awarded the Teacher of the Year for Kalimantan Timur Province in 2006 and was awarded the second place for the national level of the same award, also in 2006. He has attended many international seminars and workshops in some countries, including one in Moscow, Russia in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Armin Rasiwa from Department of Education and Culture, Kalimantan Timur Province. How are you, Pak Armin?
Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, how are you?
Thank you for joining us today. I'm very well. Okay, Pak Armin, we cannot wait any longer to learn from you. So you may start whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Director of Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur, Mr. Willy, Moderator, the Dean of Teaching Faculty of Universitas Muhammadiyah, all participants. So we just heard great presentation, outstanding presentation from Mr. Willy. So I do agree with what you have said, that mindset is very important. So wise men say that if I know what is in your mind, I know what will you be. So this is very important for teachers, that when they are facing the students, so first of all, that please change your mindset. So this is the point that I got from Mr. Willy presentation. So sorry, today I'm going to present focusing on policy of education department of East Kalimantan. So if I am talking next mostly in policy. So I believe that what Mr. Willy just presented just now must be supported by a great policy. So I start with the vision of East Kalimantan. So dare to having East Kalimantan dignity. So dignity, as we know that East Kalimantan is very large. We have abundance of natural resources. But one problem that we are facing, that we are lack of quality of human resources. This is the point. We have a lot of natural resources. We have a lot of mining. We have a lot of gas and so on. But who handle that? Who manage that? Who explore that? So we need human resource. Then that's the point that the government of East Kalimantan would like to see. We are providing human resources. Next. Okay, so one of the four missions of the government of East Kalimantan is having dignity in promoting human resources that own well-behaved, what is called character, competitive. They can compete regionally, globally, particularly women, youth, and disabled. So how to achieve that? So next, I'm going to elaborate. I would like to show some programs that, next, some programs that you are doing now. First, that we have boarding school, vocational schools in East Kalimantan, both in senior high school and vocational school. Some, I mean, every every district regency has boarding school, one boarding school or one boarding vocational school that we are going to achieve. So we put the student there, we build the character of the student, we are providing the what is it, the programs, we are providing the great teachers. So yes, we believe that this is the answer. It can be the answer to achieve that the quality human resources. And about distance learnings, as we all know that East Kalimantan province has a very large area, and we cannot provide all facilities, all technology of communication to them. So that's why we have distance learning. We have limited of teacher, we have limited of schools and others. So by having distance learning, we believe that it can help the students there because we have lack of teachers there. So distance learning is one of the answer. The next one, that education center. We have a very strategic education center in Samarinda. Now we are preparing that as a center of excellency, the center of quality of education. We are now providing that, and we hope that student can go there, teacher can go there, and we are doing a lot there. And we also have program that we provide one student, one Android. So what the former speaker just now said, that yes, so e-teaching, e-learning is a requirement. We cannot avoid that. Of course, we must face the technology. One teacher, one laptop. Now we have already distributed, and yeah, in the next 2020 to 2022, hopefully it will be okay. All the teachers have already got the laptop. And the next, that bridge training course. Yeah, so now we are, yeah, since last year we are already sending teachers to Australia, yeah, and now it's still going on. And also we are sending some students to Russia for preparing them for technology in railways. Next. Yep. Okay. Digitalization of education. This is, I think, the answer of our anticipation of the pandemic COVID-19. Yes, that right now, digital education plan requires a master plan of education digitalization, which contains budgeting, policy, infrastructure, and curriculum involving University of Gajah Mada and Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. So the government of East Kalimantan has already cooperated, worked with these two universities, and now still going on. They help us to design what we are going to do with our education in East Kalimantan. Education and Culture Department East Kalimantan has already been providing network, providing bandwidth to school. So we are contribute. We are giving network to schools. So in order to help them to have online, yes, and also online learning or offline learning. And hopefully it will run well, because right now we are still facing some problems because the infrastructure are still not available. Okay, yes, the last, I think that the policy of this Kalimantan government is about scholarship. Yeah, scholarship here is now what we call Kaltim Tuntas scholarship. So complete scholarship for Iskalian. Kaltim Tuntas scholarship is provided for all students from East Kalimantan to who continue their study in university in Indonesia or in outside. So right now there are 144,000 applicants who already proposed this scholarship. So what we are preparing now about the program or the policy to support the education development in this Kalimantan is how to increase the quality of human resources. So by having this, we are expecting that the teachers, as the key here, will have good quality in transferring their knowledge to the students. So thank you very much to University of Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. We do appreciate that you are also involving in taking part preparing teachers in East Kalimantan. So yeah, in the next 2 years, hopefully that all the education quality will be spread out in East Kalimantan, even though it is hard because the area is very hard to reach. But I believe by having technology of education, by having great teacher, we can achieve that. Thank you so much. So yeah, it has been a long time. I don't teach anymore. So now I'm in East Kalimantan Education Department. So very nice to meet you all. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, I give back to Pak Sudarman. Please, I think that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Pak Armin. When we talk about policy, it's always confusing somehow, Pak Armin. So I do believe that many teachers have prepared questions for you. Yeah, so stay on. Huh? We'll have a question and answer session after the third speaker. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I would like to remind you, if you have any questions about the topic today, please write them down on the chat button below. And then I would like to inform you that at the end of this seminar, we will have a door prize. So please stay on until the end of this webinar. Well, the last but not least, we have another special speaker. He is the Dean of Faculty of Education and Teacher Training, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. and he is also a board member of National Standards of Education, Ministry of Education and Culture. He graduated from University of Iowa, USA, for his Master of Arts in Curriculum and Instruction in 1986. He pursued his doctoral degree at the same university under the same major and graduated in 1990. He has a lot of experiences in education since he has been teaching since 1972. He has attended a lot of seminars, both national and international, and has published many books and articles from international journals since 1983. It makes me, I cannot read all the publications since it will require a long time. So please welcome Professor Ali Sauka from Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. Professor Ali, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? Hopefully everything is okay.
Everything is fine.
But really, thanks a lot for the perfect presentation. Actually, I don't need to present it anymore because everything is already covered. But I mean, thank you very much. You already have given us the context in terms of the policy of education in East Kalimantan. So I will know much better the context in which I will have to work after my retirement in UM.
Oh,
Universitas Negeri Malang.
yes.
Let me just add something that is not really covered before based on my preparation, my prepared presentation. So hopefully then there will be more questions and then answers, more time for the discussion. Okay, let me start. Please share. Okay. This is our theme, the development and implementation of teaching and learning process to face the new normal. And I think Willie has already covered the heart of the matter, teachers, us, educators. But let's look at the individual words of the theme. Next slide. If you look at the individual words in the theme, the development of implementation of teaching and learning process, the one that is not familiar is the word, the new normal. We know about development, we know about implementation, we know about teaching and learning process, especially provided by all kinds of information from Willie. The term new normal. The only phrase which is not familiar to us, I don't know whether it's already familiar, the new normal. We assume that everybody knows it, but what is actually really meant by new normal? I doubt that everybody will have the same interpretation about the new normal. Next slide. Different individuals may have different interpretations. Now, I think from the media, you have heard a proposed definition based on the assumption that what is now considered to be abnormal today, that we are still facing today, will become normal if we get used to it. So the new normal is the abnormal. The abnormal is going to be the new normal. I don't really like the definition at all. I wonder whether you like it or not. Do you? Just response in the chat later. Now, I have my own definition. Okay, at least my proposed definition. So I propose my own definition of the new normal. This is what I'd like to happen in the new normal. I hope everybody also agrees with me, although it may not be realized. It is, the new normal is a time period in which everything is better than before, assuming that we can learn from COVID-19 pandemic. There is a blessing in disguise. I still remember Pak Willy saying that we should thank COVID-19 pandemic. We should learn from COVID-19 pandemic. There's a blessing in disguise that with the advancement of technology, actually we can improve the quality of education. But then we were still not very sure about that. So the COVID-19 pandemic has successfully pushed us to go forward. Now, again, when we can learn from the COVID-19 pandemic, we will have to make use of the technology around. There's a change of everything. Again, the new normal should be a better period of time. There's a change of everything from not really appropriate, from not really appropriate beliefs and not appropriate practices, to better beliefs, better practices, while continuing the best practices. Next. Now, my presentation will be around these 5 topics. I'm not going to focus on first and second topic. I'm going to focus on the third and the fourth, and then the implication. Now, about the teaching and learning process during COVID-19 pandemic, this is what we are facing now. I think kids have been at school starting yesterday, starting yesterday. The context in which the policy about back to school from the central government, from the Minister of Education and Culture, is already provided by the so-called Permendikbud, and this is a decree together with a mutual decree together the 4 ministers. I think everybody can refer to this as the official reference. It's easy to get access to this. I don't want to talk about this. And there's also, this is for schools. There's also one from the higher education, the Directorate of Higher Education, from Dikti, about how universities should conduct their semesters, education, this semester. I think you know from this reference that actually only zones considered to be green can have face-to-face interaction, teaching and learning process. And I guess that no region in Jawa belongs to green zone. And green zones can only be found outside Java, some regions in outside Java. Okay, next. That's about the policy, that's about the guidelines from the Directorate of Higher Education. I think it's going to be easy to get access to that. Now let me just move on to the next slide. Now, I think you can also get access to the internet, a survey done by Kemdikbud on online learning. Actually, it's done by Directorate of Higher Education. March, April, in the beginning of pandemic in our country. There are 230,000 million, 2,000 university students in 32 provinces. 90% of the students prefer offline, face-to-face learning interaction in the class. I think there's a reason why they prefer to that, because they don't get used to it. But actually, if online learning will be implemented, 73% of the students are ready. And those who are not ready, they have technical problems because they don't have the connection, internet connection. That is, okay, next please. Now, I just would like to quote this from Clayton Christensen, professor from HBS, Harvard Business School. I think he's just passed away lately, at the age of 67. Yeah? Now, I just would like to focus more on, not on the first point over there, that 50% of all of the 4,000 colleges and universities in the US will be bankrupt in 10 to 15 years. This is, I think it was quoted as being stated 2017, 3 years ago. It's not, perhaps it's not because the management, but because of the tendency that students will prefer to have the online education. Now, I just would like to focus more about what he stated, that actually the most of the successful alumni who give generous donations, so they remember their campuses, they remember their universities, they remember their alma maters, not because of the institution, but because they remember specific professor, and the professor has already inspired them to be successful students, to be successful in their career after they graduate. Now, so again, point number 2, one thing that online education will not be able to replace, this is quoted from Clayton Christensen, inspiring professor, inspiring teacher. I think Willie has already emphasized that the first important factor for successful education at schools is motivation, motivating teacher. The second one is motivating teacher. The third one is motivating teacher. So that is just another word of inspiring professor. The one that is also very important is that online education will become a more cost-effective way for students to receive education. That's why perhaps 50% of the 4,000 colleges at the universities in the US will be bankrupt. Now, we cannot really avoid the push of the COVID-19 pandemic to adopt the online education. Next, please. Now, I just would like to also share with you the SNP press release just about a few days ago that PSNP is preparing a standard to run online education, to run PJJ, pendidikan jarak jauh, distance learning. But actually, it may not be appropriate anymore to use the word distance learning, because with distance learning at that time is in terms of geographical or whatever. But now it's distance learning. It's not. It doesn't have to be geographical distance, but that you do not really attend, that students do not really attend the classes in the physical buildings. Students may stay around the university, but still, that is still called pendidikan jarak jauh. So it's the term itself is actually misleading. But anyway, the concept is adopting the so-called blended learning that Willie has already discussed very thoroughly there. So the combination of synchronous, asynchronous, and also face-to-face. I think if you want to know about the progress of developing the standard, you can get access to the website, Secretariat PSNP. You still have time to give some feedback about how the standard will be developed, and hopefully it will also be put in the decree, the official decree of the Minister of Education. Next. My third topic is about focusing on the roles of teachers. I put over here as redefined. I think Willie has already told us that what he has presented includes both, whether teachers in the context of face-to-face education, face-to-face learning, or in the context of online education. Doesn't matter. But my focus here is more on what about when the technology is dominating? What are the roles of teachers in online education? So before this webinar, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was thinking about conducting a simple survey. Some of you may have been the respondents, to answer the question, the new roles, actually. I would say the redefined roles of teachers, the new roles of teachers. What are the roles of the teachers in online education, which may be different from the roles of teachers in offline education? So to answer that question, research studies need to be conducted. So my study that I started about 2 or 3 weeks ago is still in the progress. It's still in the process. So actually, can I have the next slide, please? Oh, before that, yeah, before that. I would like to emphasize the fact that the most important part, the most important stakeholder of education, whether it is online or offline education, is teachers. Now, I would like to show you a video, a very interesting video, but the focus is not about the content. The focus is something about the role of the teachers. I think everybody can get access to the internet, and you will find a lot of links or YouTubes about the concept of Guru Penggerak launched by the Minister of Education and Culture. They invite teachers to join Guru Penggerak. Before I show you the video, let me just give you some kind of background. I think the teachers having the experience for a long time will remember that in the past, we had Guru Inti, we had National Instructor of Teachers. Now, I don't know whether Guru Penggerak here has something to do with that, something to do with the appointment, the assignment given to teachers to be Guru Inti, the key teachers, to be the national instructor back in 1990s, perhaps 1990s or 1980s. Don't really remember. So let's just watch the video. It's only 1 minute video. Hopefully you will hear the sound. Can you click it?
Bagi yang tertarik untuk menjadi pemimpin masa depan sistem pendidikan kita, bagi yang tertarik melakukan perubahan, bagi yang berani mengambil resiko dalam berinovasi, ini adalah kesempatan Anda untuk apply kepada program Guru Penggerak ini dan jadilah bagian dari roda perubahan di sistem pendidikan kita.
Seperti pesan Ki Hajar, bebas dari segala ikatan, dengan suci hati mendekati sang anak, tidak untuk meminta sesuatu hak, namun untuk berhamba pada sang anak.
Ujung-ujungnya reformasi pendidikan di Indonesia harus berawal dan berakhir kepada guru. Guru penggerak adalah ujung tombak perubahan transformasi pendidikan kita. Tidak ada yang namanya perubahan pendidikan di Indonesia harus berawal dan berakhir kepada guru. Guru penggerak adalah ujung tombak perubahan transformasi pendidikan kita. Tidak ada yang namanya perubahan tanpa berdarah-darah. Dengan ini, saya secara resmi meluncurkan Merdeka Belajar Guru Penggerak.
Okay, let me quote Willie again. The heart of the matter, the heart of the education. That is exactly what I think Mas Menteri tries to say. The heart of education, the heart of the matter is teachers. So look at this. The important point from the video launching Guru Penggerak program is that even Mas Menteri, who is so popular as a pioneer of online business, still recognizes, still believes in the importance of the teachers, still believes that teachers have a very important role, still recognizes the important role of teachers. Even in other occasions, I think many of you may have heard that he said that technology is just a tool for teachers. You cannot get rid of the teachers. That's why this context has inspired me to raise 3 questions that I have already had in my mind long time ago, but I just could realize, could really launch these questions to my colleagues. I got about 180 respondents. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, before that, let me, so actually that kind of, that kind of question, the role of the teachers in online education should be answered by research based on the following data collection. Can you, yes, opinions, beliefs of the teachers and lecturers about the roles of teachers in online education. And then we can also get data from experience from learners. So we can also have a kind of survey using Google form, asking learners about what they believe, what they perceive, what they think about roles of teachers in online education. We can also collect data. We can also try to answer the question by reviewing previous research findings. I've tried to search journal articles about the topic, but I still cannot really find recently published. And then we can also look at the theories. I think Pak Willy and I could be considered as a perfect match because Pak Willy, you already have provided me with the theories. I can say that what you have talked about could be the theoretical framework of this kind of study. I really appreciate that, Pak Willy. Thank you. Next, please. So this is then my background, the background of the study, the background of the research study. Teaching, this is also reflecting my belief. Yeah? Teaching is a profession which will apparently exist forever. That's my belief. Teaching is a profession which will apparently, I should drop the word apparently, yeah? Will for sure exist forever. We need teachers to help students learn, and learning is lifelong. Nobody can stop learning. The question is whether students at schools or at colleges in the class can learn without the presence of teacher in the class. So this is in the class. Again, I emphasize the fact that perhaps outside the class, yes, but what about in the class? Do we still need teachers in the class? How much time? The second context in which I want to continue my study here is access to learning requires through the Internet of Things. It's inevitable. We cannot really avoid that the fact that learning resources in the Internet exceed what can be provided by the presence of teachers in the class. Teachers should not ignore the fact that there is more knowledge available in the Internet than knowledge that teachers have, that knowledge that teachers can provide students. Next, please. Then I formulated these three questions and already I got the responses from about 180 respondents to these three questions. What should still be taught by teachers in the class? And then the opposite is what should not be taught anymore by the teachers in the class. Okay, if we can identify what should still be taught by teachers and what should not be taught by teachers anymore in the class, then what are the roles of the teachers then? What are the important roles that teachers can play in the class to help students learn, making use of the availability of the information from the Internet? Can I have the next, please? Next slide, please. Okay, question number one. The answer to questions number one. These are open-ended questions. I put over here the top responses. Next, please. To answer the question. Next, please. the top responses to the question about what should still be taught by teachers in the class. So this is still in the process of analyzing the data, categorizing the answers to the respondents to themes, to different topics. So this is not really fixed yet. We categorize the answers into future and life skills. Actually, there are similarities among the respondents, among the answers to the respondents. So I think, we list theory about the responsibilities of the teachers can be put as a theoretical framework to put these themes into a better perspectives, that future skills, life education, technology, etc., should still be taught by teachers. Material selection strategies, not that, so students need help from the teachers to select materials, how they select the materials. Next. Next slide, please. No, before that, one more slide before this. Okay. Before this, one more slide before this. One more slide before this. Oh, okay, that's all, yeah. Next, the second question. The answers to the second question. What should not be taught by teachers? Okay, show me the answers. Slide, next slide, please. Okay, what should not be taught by teachers anymore in the class? The slide before this. The slide before this, please. Before this slide. The previous slide. Yes. No more factual or general knowledge. Bad malpractices, bad teaching. I don't know what it is really meant by this one. My interpretation is that teachers should not be bad models, should not show how bad teaching. Okay, spoon feeding, monotonous, passive learning. These are things that considered to be malpractices or bad teaching. The problem here in terms of the teaching of English is about language skills, whether language skill should still be taught by teachers or should not be taught by teachers anymore, because students can learn how to read, listen, speak, write without the presence of the teachers. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, and then also what should not be taught is cognitive aspects, but I think I made something very important over there. Metacognition is a very important element that teachers should still teach, metacognition. Okay, let's just move on to the third question. The important roles of teachers that they can play in the class to help students learn. What are the roles? What are the new roles? Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, motivator. So that's what you said, Pak Willy. Motivator, as a motivating teacher, a planner, organizer. Yes, of course. What else? Next, please. Next slide, please. Supervisor, supervising students in learning, in the progress of students' learning. Role model, yes, of course. Assessor, yes, giving feedback. in addition to asking students to give feedback to the teachers, it is important that teachers also give feedback to the students, because that is the least expensive, but the most effective way of improving students' learning, feedback. Now, next, please. In addition to the open-ended questions, we also launched close-ended questions. Next, please. Next, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, three close-ended questions. Question number 1. Question number 1. Okay, this is a very important question, but I'm really pleased to know that the answer is very positive. Although the answer here is negative, but actually this is very positive attitudes. Can all the roles of a teacher in the class be replaced by IT? More than 85% say no. The roles of a teacher in the class can never be replaced by IT. That is what I mean by positive attitudes or positive response. The second question. The answer to the second question is also in line with the answer to the first question. Do you agree with the statement that the presence of a teacher in the class can never be replaced by anything else? Do you agree with the statement that the presence can never be replaced by anything else? And they agree. 74% agree. And the last question, please. Next slide, please. Do you agree with the statement that teachers must be IT literate to help students in the class and outside the class? And the answer is for sure yes, because without having IT literacy, I don't think it's going to be easy for the teachers to help students learn. Now, the last part of my presentation is about the implication. Because it's still in the progress, I think this study should be continued. I will continue this study by using different kinds of data. But I suggest that everybody else present in this webinar can also conduct such a study. It's open to everybody. You can also use my questions to start with, or you can modify, it doesn't matter. Then later we will have to compare different research findings from different cultures, from different parts of Indonesia, leading to conclusive findings about the new roles of teachers. The results of the studies should be used as the basis to restructure the teaching responsibilities, the assignments given to the teachers and lecturers. And hopefully later, when the findings have been conclusive, then the feedback, the result can be also good feedback to modify, to revise our National Education Act and other relevant regulations. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Lani, for the insightful sharing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's move into the Q&A session. But we are sorry because we cannot pick all the questions that you write on the chats because due to the limited time. So we'll just pick some questions. But before that, I would like to inform you that in order to get the certificate, you're required to fill out a survey form that will be shared at the end of this seminar. Okay, well, the first question from Sean Patrick Kang to Dr. Willie regarding about passion for teaching points. So the question is, could you please elaborate how do teachers can be culturally aware in order to avoid misunderstandings from the way we care, the way we are humorous, and the way we motivate them? Dr. Willie, please. We cannot hear you, Dr. Willie.
There you go. Yes, good question. The person who asked the question is probably not from Indonesia, is he?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Yes, I understand that today we are talking not only about, if you're a language teacher, not only about communicative competence, but also somebody who is able to speak to people from different cultures. In other words, the idea of intercultural competence is becoming very, very important, especially if you work with students from different socioeconomic backgrounds, from different cultural backgrounds. I think what you need to know is for you to find out more about your students' culture and then take it from there. Through trial and error, hopefully, less errors. If you are really willing to listen to your students, I think you'll be able to find out more. I have worked with teachers, with students from different cultures, and to me, it has been a very good learning process. I listen to them. I try to find out the way, they communicate, the way they appreciate jokes, and the way they do things. And this is something that you can learn in the process. Not something that you can immediately acquire, but it takes time for you to culturalize yourself, if you like. So yes, if you teach, in Indonesia, for example, and your students come from different provinces in Indonesia. Yes, Indonesia is one country, but students come from different cultural backgrounds. So the first thing for you to do would be to find out from them, have a chat with them. If you can, visit their homes and talk to the parents and things like that. I think that would be the way to go. I understand that sometimes jokes can be very tricky. Jokes can be, not funny, and that's really bad. If a teacher tells a joke and no one is laughing, that's really bad. But even worse is when your students feel offended by your jokes. So jokes are very, very culturally loaded. We just need to be more careful. Great question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Willie. Next, the second question addressed to Professor Ali. How do you think of the implementation of the new normal for Indonesian people? Apparently, most of them do not understand about the new normal and they live like in new normal. They do not want to use the health protocols such as wearing masks, conducting activities in the way before COVID-19. Professor Ali?
it's not really that's a very interesting question, but a very good question, a challenging question. It's not very easy. I think you know that if not all, but almost all regions in Java are still considered to be red zone or whatever. But if you go outside, it's just like normal. It's not new normal, but it's normal. They still believe they still believe in the old habits about health, about cleanliness. Okay, so I think we need time. I think we need time. And the roles of teachers, the roles of religious leaders, the roles of the informal leaders, the roles of the informal leaders are very important. They may not be very interesting. They may not be interested in what's that, information from the formal leaders. So informal leaders would be very important in terms of educating people about safety, about security, about health. I think, again, teachers at schools are now much better motivated to learn all kinds of IT-based teaching strategies. Thanking again to COVID-19 pandemic. So it's about time. I mean, or if we have to be patient. We have to be patient. We should not give up educating our society, our people. Okay, I think that's what I can say.
Thank you, Professor Ali. Okay, next, but before I go to the next question, I would like to inform you all that we cannot pick a question to Mr. Armin because he has left the room since he has another agenda. So we are sorry for that. So next questions to Dr. Willy from Yasmina Amarita Telambanua. Question is, what should we suggest to teachers or lecturers who are unable to utilize technology? They are not digital users or digital teachers, and they do not want to change their own mindset.
Very interesting question. I think that will just make life difficult for themselves. I'm sure you have heard about this expression. Yes, teachers are going to be, will continue to be important in the classroom. That, you know, technology is not going to replace teachers. That is true. But teachers who know how to use technology well for teaching will replace those teachers who do not know how to use technology in the classroom. I think this is happening now, and it is going to be happening even in a more significant ways in the future. Our life is surrounded by technology. So I really sympathize with those who feel that, you know, they don't need to change, because change is something that is a constant. Change is something that is going to happen, whether you like it or not. So if we have teachers who do not want to learn, I think they need counseling from Pak Ali. Send them to Malang for counseling. Yes, I know it's very painful. I remember Singapore, for example, started about 25 years ago. It started asking the teachers to please use some form of technology in the classroom. It doesn't matter what technology you use. Of course, a lot of teachers were not very happy back then, but that is a starting point. I think Singapore went through 3 phases of, technological innovation. The first part is basically just use it. The second part then comes when teachers have to think about the pedagogy that can be used, to help your tech-mediated learning more effective. But now everyone is using it. They have to, because the kids are using it. The children are using it. If you're not using it, it's going to be very difficult for you to, motivate your students, to keep your students engaged in the classroom. So it's very sad, actually, if you hear people say that I don't want to use it.
Can I share my story?
Yes, I'm sure that person is much younger than me. And I am still learning. I continue to learn new things on a daily basis. Ali, yes.
Can I share a story? My own.
Yes, Pa.
I think my students know that I will retire soon. But I'm still learning. In terms of the technology, I may be Kaptek, yeah? Not really literate. But with the information, with the simple guidance from my junior colleague in the English department of Universitas Negeri Malang, though, I'm now highly excited about videotaping all my lecture notes in the form of YouTubes. I don't really keep the recordings, but I have already notes written down to reflect what I always say in the class, and I'm thinking about putting that videotape in the form of YouTubes in about 15 minutes per topic. So again, I'm still learning how to use the technology, and who knows that I can also be useful after I retire. Yeah, okay, that's my plan. It's still my plan. But I don't know why I'm so motivated. Again, I think you need somebody to counsel. They need counseling. That's really a very important point. Teachers need counseling too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ali and Dr. Willy. Okay, we have one last question here to Dr. Willy. From Azaria Rahman. How to enhance our students in shifting from digital users become digital learners in terms of motivation and limitations. Providing technology hassles which hit us, especially in remote areas. What can we do as teachers in minimizing them?
Yes, I think this is a very important question. Our job as a teacher today is to show the students how they can also learn from their digital devices. And a great way of doing this is through, number one, modeling. Modeling, showing the students how to do it. Number two, guided practice. Students need help in becoming a digital learner. So guided practice is going to be very important. And the next one will be independent practice. So 3 things, I think, which applies to any kind of learning. Basically, the first starting point is the teacher giving a model, explaining and modeling the process of learning from multimodal text. I think in Singapore, for example, digital literacy or visual literacy is becoming a very important topic. And again, the starting point is the teachers. The teachers will have to show how to do it. The teachers will need to use multimodal text and show the students how they can learn from traditional text and also from multimodal text. Number 2, guided practice, ongoing support for the students. And number 3, then independent practice, give students a lot of practice, and eventually they will become a digital learner as well. Remember the time when we were children, the same thing happened. we are moving, basically young children moving from oral tradition at home into literacy tradition in school, where a lot of reading is needed. Again, the process is the same. The teachers will have to show the students how to go about doing it first, through modeling, through scaffolding, and through a lot of independent practice. Well, in terms of the absence or the lack of resources, I don't think I can give you advice. I mean, the best thing for you, if you can, is please, join, find a teaching job in Singapore, for example. Then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about, having limited resources.
Yeah.
Or to Brunei Darussalam.
Okay,
Yes.
Professor Ali, do you have something to say about these questions?
Which question?
The same question to Dr. Willie. How to enhance our students in shifting from digital users become digital learners in terms of motivation and limitation?
Establishing habits.
Establishing habits.
Yeah, I think a role model. If you want students to be autonomous learner, the role of the teacher is also to be a model as an autonomous learner. Role model is very important. You don't need to say that don't come late. You just have to come on time. That's more more meaningful message to the students. Don't cheat. You should not be a cheater. Okay, I think that's the idea of role model.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ali. Oh, my mistake. Actually, we still have some questions here. So we need to proceed, I think. The next questions from the participant to Mr.
Maybe
Ali.
we can give the person some face time so that we can see their faces when they ask questions.
Good idea.
A good idea.
They can raise oral questions.
Okay. So for those who want to say something, want to ask something, you may raise your hand. Anybody?
I saw 2 hands raised. I don't know.
Anybody, if you want to say something? Yeah, just unmute your gadget. Anybody?
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I?
Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. Abdul Mutim from Banjarmasin.
Mutim.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, Pak Ali and Pak Willy. Yeah, I just want to share experience. When I was a schoolboy, I was not such a good student in terms of academic and also in terms of skills. I often got stuck with the learning. But when I got stuck with the learning, the teacher came to approach me and put his hands on my shoulders, and he started to massage me. I feel relieved of that. And he whispered on my ears, Mutim, you could do it. This is what I feel until now. And this is something that I lost in online teaching and learning. Physical touch sometimes is meaningful for the learning. What do you say? Thank you very much.
Okay. Please, Dr. Willy, Professor Ali.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Pak Ali has a lot of experience in that area.
That is hard. I mean, that's one of the 3 H. One of the 3 H, head, heart, and hand. I think you got the heart. You got the heart of your teacher saying that, but with him.
Yes.
It's also one way of inspiring the students. Give them your heart. You will remember for the rest of your life. And that's what is needed by students. And I believe in what is called late bloomers. Never underestimate your students. They may look puzzled when you explain, but perhaps they are so critical about what you explain. Okay, so again, I think the idea of late bloomers. Everybody in the class will have their own time to improve, to jump to higher levels of the development. So with a push from the teachers, words inspiring, vision, touch, physical and psychological touch can really make the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ali.
Next question.
Well, next, Dr. Sudar MPD, please. 3
participants raised hands.
I want to hear from Dr. Willy
Sorry.
The context I am asking.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, my fault.
Really?
Yes, my fault. Yes. Yes, I think what you described just now is a great example of what a great teacher is all about. A great teacher is somebody who touches your heart, basically, because some students need a push. Sometimes you need to push them harder, but some other students, especially the shy one, the less confident one, they need a pat on their back. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that some students need that special care from the teachers in order for them to move ahead. And that is one of the great, characteristics of a very effective and inspiring teacher. I remember a story. I don't know if you remember this story. It's about about making a difference in people's life. One of the greatest jobs of a teacher is making a difference to your student's life. You may not be able to make a difference to everyone in the classroom, 100% of them, but I think you can make a difference to especially those who need help the most. That is what a great teacher is all about. Touching people's heart at the right time and at the right moment. I think they will remember you for many, many years to come and for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And I like to echo what Pak Ali said about late bloomers. Late bloomers are real. Very often what we see are early bloomers, young kids, young children who develop very fast. But the majority of the people here, you, me, and many other people are late bloomers, basically. And what is amazing is that we can bloom all the time. We can bloom until the day we say goodbye to the world. 60 is nothing. 70 is nothing. Even when you are 80 or 90 years old, you can continue to bloom. And I think I shared with Pak Ali that I'm reading a book called Late Bloomers. Now here's the book. You can't probably see this. Yes. That's the book. It's called Late Bloomers. It's an amazing, amazing book because the book tells you or gives you a very good message that people can continue to learn and to develop, although you are 70 or 80 years old. And there are a lot of examples of great people who continue to develop in their, in their old age. So, yes, great question, Pak Abdul.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pak Willy and Pak Ali. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Abdul Mutim. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Sudarman, I believe, from
117.
Dr. Sudarman, please. Dr. Sudarman. Oh, Sudar. Oh, Dr. Sudar. Please
Unmute, please.
Unmute, please.
Unmute, please.
Sorry, Dr. Sudar, we cannot hear you. Could you please unmute? Okay.
Yeah, how to develop the student head, heart, and the hand. So the student personality will develop, moreover, in the high technology now. Thank you. Yeah, my question addressed to Dr. Willy.
How to develop the head,
the head, the heart, and the hand simultaneously. So the student will be a good personal in the era of high technology era now. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's not so much about teaching them. Again, it's a matter of showing, it's a matter of modeling to the students. If you are a knowledgeable teacher, then your students will see that and use it as a model. If you are a teacher who is caring, who is passionate about teaching and learning, I think the students will be very likely to do the same. Now, if you are very skillful in teaching, I think your students will appreciate that, and hopefully they will also learn, from you giving an example in the classroom. So I would say modeling becomes very, very important. Teaching, telling is probably not so helpful.
Okay, so being a role model, like what Prof. Ali Sauka said. Yeah.
I think so, yes. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
thank
modeling.
you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, for the next participant, if you want to ask question, please.
Pak Sudar.
Not too close to the microphones because it will make so much noises. Okay, Prof. Ali.
Ali, I think you remember the Ing Arso Sumpulodo stuff. I think that's a great way of showing people how to do things. The Tut Muri Handayani and
yeah. I think Mr. Triwandoro has already taught us how to inspire students, how to establish the three hearts, the H, the head, the heart, and the hands. The hands, the head, the heart, and the hands.
Yes.
I just would like to add to what Pak Willy has said in response to Pak Sudar. Yeah? If you can make the students, if you can make your students say that they want to be like you as a teacher, you are a successful teacher. You have already touched their head, their heart, and their hands. Make them believe that you are the role model. Believe that your students want to be like you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ali. Next, Mainarni Susilowati, please.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Pak Ali, I'm so glad to see you here. First of all, I would like to thank Pak Willy for a very stimulating presentations, and also Pak Ali for presenting the result of the survey, which stimulates me also to do a follow-up project on that point. Pak Ali, I just want to give a comments concerning the language used by the teacher for delivering hard. I think it's going to be a new linguistic construction for the teacher to express their heart doing by online, because it's going to be very much different. So I reckon the teacher will make use of all the emoticons and also all the signals to deliver the emotional feelings also. And also the messages. In the past time, we are making use of the physical touch, also like body language, but now it's not existing any longer. So I noticed that it's going to be a new trend concerning the representing emotional connection to our students in this case. So that's another area of doing another research. So I'm so happy to have Pak Willis and Pak Ali's comments on that. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yes, I think that's a very good point, Ibu. In a lecture style, online session, I think I agree. It's very difficult for you to show, your feelings, to show your emotions, but you can smile a bit more. I think that's possible. Yeah. But I think Zoom has the some functionalities where you can put students in groups, in smaller groups, or even on a one-to-one kind of interaction. So that is when you can use, your, verbal and body language in order to communicate to your students that you care. I think after class as well, during the less formal kind of lessons, I think you can interact with them a bit more. But of course, again, it is going to take quite a bit of your time, but technology has made it possible for us to connect with other people in many, many different ways. If we don't know how to do it, it's just because we have not explored the possibilities that technology has allowed us to, to make use of.
Yes, indeed.
I
Thank
can
you,
add
Pak
something else. Interpersonal relationship can also be established prior to the content delivery. Ask them about their personal lives, about their parents, show them that you care. Words. But I agree with you that emoticon can also help give them the impression that you care with the student. And also perhaps outside the synchronous, you can communicate asynchronously, showing that you care, that you pay attention to what they need.
Right.
You should serve as just like parents.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Pak Ali.
Well, thank you, Bu Menarti.
My
Last
pleasure.
burning question.
May I ask a question?
Yes, last burning question only.
Yes, please.
May I address the question to Dr. Willie?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, wait for a moment. Pak Willie, how will you address the challenges digitally native learners to teachers who are digitally divide or immigrant?
Oh, is that all your question?
I will repeat the question. How will you address the challenges digitally native learners from digitally teachers who are digitally divide or immigrant? I can see the gaps, so many gaps from digitally divide and digitally native learners. How will you address these? Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we can ever become a digital natives, just like a lot of many of our students, because they are surrounded by technology on a daily basis. But I think we have a lot more experience in terms of how we can learn and how we can teach our students how to learn. In my presentation early on, I mentioned that students are, yes, they use technology all the time, but they have not acquired the skill of using technology for learning purposes. I think that is one area that teachers can come in and address the needs of our students. On the teacher's part, we can just learn not all the tools that are out there, but some of the most important tools. I think if you are willing to learn, I don't think there's anything that can stop you from picking up, a few of the most important technological tools that can be used for teaching purposes.
From teachers to the students.
Yeah, I think teachers are in a better position to teach students how to use technology for learning purposes, not for playing games. I think they are much better than us. But in terms of learning, I think we are much better. And the process of learning from other sources, from books, for example, and from technology is, the key, skill, I would say, is the same. You need to focus your attention. You need to find a place where you can, study and you can take notes and things like that. All these skills are common, whether you use technology for learning or whether you use the traditional modes of learning. So I think we are in a better position to help our students in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you from Alvin. Okay, we have one last question. This will be the last, really last question. A question for Pak Willy and Prof. Ali. It is interesting to conduct the teaching and learning process using the online learning, especially for the digital era. The learners can learn whenever and wherever, but not all of the people have the same perception. The teacher cannot see the student effective aspect, and also they have no facilities to conduct the online learning like this webinar. How is your opinion about this? Maybe I will go to Professor Ali first.
I'm not really sure that I understand the question.
Okay, I repeat.
Can you rephrase the questions?
Okay, maybe I'll try to conclude the questions. The participant wants to know that how do you think about the situation where not all people believe that teaching and learning process using the online, using the technology, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the challenges, the teacher cannot see the student's effective aspect. So how do you think about this?
Okay. In what I said as the definition of new normal, I have to assume that face-to-face interaction is still safe, yeah, it's still possible. So the idea of blended learning, combination of online and offline, could be the only choice. Again, my assumption is in the new normal, there's no problem in terms of the health to interact with students physically. So it's quite possible for the teachers to guarantee that all the three areas of touching can also be done. Again, I think research studies need to be conducted in order to know what can be done by teachers offline and online. Can students learn? What should students learn from online and offline? So what cannot be taught online should be taught offline. Okay, so it's just like a perfect mixture between the two, offline, online, synchronous, asynchronous, non-synchronous. I mean, non-synchronous is face-to-face interaction. Okay, thank you.
Yes, just one small point to add. I think we are still at the early stage of teaching in a new way, teaching using Zoom and other video-based platforms, and eventually we'll be able to learn more. We'll be able to to teach in a more effective manner, whether we are using online or offline mode. But at the end of the day, I think I know that even in a typical classroom, we can never be able to ensure that everyone, 100% of the students are learning in the same way. We don't. We can only use our intuition and use our experience to assess whether every single students have learned what we have intended them to learn. I think the same thing will happen in the online learning environment. If you ask me if you are able to reach out to like 70, 80% of your students, I think you've done a good job. It's always, ideally, of course, we want to be able to reach out to every single student in the classroom. But the reality is, I mean, 80% will be really a wonderful thing to achieve.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, done.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Patrick. We ran out of time.
Just one comment, please.
It's okay, no problem.
Okay. One short question, please.
Yes. From my point of view, just how can teacher
Mr. Kang?
Okay. I just want to ask Dr. Willie, from my point of view, that teaching students is hard, especially care from teachers. It's not easy to take special care from teachers to students online. It's a new job to do, and it's not a usual one to follow from the students, especially at the previous stage, at the secondary school and preparatory school. It's very difficult to follow and to achieve. Thank you.
I agree 100%. Yes, there's no replacement to a face-to-face and to the more interactive nature of learning. Remember, people are social beings. There's nothing like that personal, close encounters, physical meeting with our students. But under the current situation, I think technology has provided us with that opportunity to continue the education process to our students. So yes, thank you for your comments. I think we are in it together. I think we will be learning together until we are able to eventually find the best way of teaching using the online mode. And the best way may not be the best way in terms of how we used to do things in the traditional classroom environment. So yes, blended learning will be the way to go in the future. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think that's the last questions. Okay, to wrap up the discussion today, I would like say that COVID-19 pandemic may cause many bad effects for us in almost all sectors, including education, economy, tourism. But one thing for sure, this pandemic also changed us to be more creative, more innovative in designing new ways of learning. It is something we may not be aware of without the pandemic. As Dr. Willie said, blended learning may not be an option in the future, but a must. So as a teacher, educational practitioners, we have to prepare our head, our hand, and our heart to cope with the new phase of education in the new normal. Okay, remember, the world future is in our hand. That's all from me. I give the show back to the host, Mr. Ibrahim. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sudarman. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we end this meeting, we really have a special door prize for those 3 selected participants. Okay, and the committee would like to choose the random selected participants. And please, Professor Willie, to say stop to choose and to pick a random name. Wait a second. Okay, while waiting for these systems, we're really happy and like to welcome you to this international webinar. And we hope that in the upcoming and the future, you will have another great opportunity, which will provide a new value by providing an international webinar. And okay, let's start to pick a random name. Okay, Prof. Willie, please say stop. Oh, okay.
Stop.
Stop. Okay, Rina Sylvia. Okay, nice. Okay, the first door prize and the second one, please, Prof. Ali, to pick a random name. Let's say stop. Okay, let's go.
Bismillah. Okay.
Okay. Stop. Okay, Francisca, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And the last lucky persons, could you please, Professor Bambang Setiaji, to select the random name.
Stop.
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 Okay. CHAV. Okay, thank you very much for those. Okay, please, for the lucky persons who got the door prize, contact the committee. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I would like to thank to all experts and speakers. Hopefully, it will be one of our valuable time we spend with. And UMKT always forms to develop human resources in Indonesia, especially in Kalimantan Timur. We work together, hand in hand, to become individuals who give most benefit for the nations. And do not forget, guys, to share, like, and comment our YouTube channel, Fkip Umkt. And we hope we meet again in other great occasions organized by Fkip or Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. And we have shared the material to Zooms, and there's a link, and you can access through UMKT Fkip website. And also the certificates will be given to participants who take part in the all series of webinar and fill out all the survey. And for the last, this was a really great moment spending with you guys. And I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Ali, Pak Billy. See you.
Pak.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Prof. Bambang, Prof. Willy, Prof. Ali, Soka.
Sama-sama, sukses.
Alhamdulillah.
Terima kasih.
Yeah. Bye now. Bye-bye, everyone.
Seperlima. Tebak nih Pak, ini 50%. 20%. Fenomena apa ya? Mulai daftar. Sudah bayar.
Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur is one of 172 universities which had been established by Muhammadiyah Incorporated. It is one of dakwah manifestation of Muhammadiyah's in educational field in order to improve the nation's education, which is based on moral and Islamic value in Kalimantan. Officially established on 28 August 2017, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur is not the newcomer for the education promoter in East Kalimantan. This is the merger for two colleges, Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Muhammadiyah Samarinda and Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Kesehatan Muhammadiyah Samarinda, which have had experiences on developing the balanced humanity dimension in morality, spirituality, physical, and the work skills for 30 years. By developing comprehensive humanity dimensions, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur is hoped to be the center of excellence so that it can develop Indonesia people as expected by the nation. Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur has two main campuses with 15 hectares of its wide. The first campus is located on Jalan Insinyur Haji Juanda 15, and the second one is located on Jalan Pelita Komplek Pesona Mahakam. Offering comfortable environment for learning, teaching, and researching, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur provides the facility as follows. part of education institutions in globalization era, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur is conducting cooperation with other higher education institutions, from domestic universities to overseas universities, to expand the knowledge and mobility. Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur gives opportunities for domestic and international students with great potency, with many scholarship scenes, including for Hafiz Quran. The students of Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur have a chance to share their knowledge and creativity, which affects positively for the environment. Students' activities are designed to provide experiences to face working competition and prepare them to be a good, characterized, knowledgeable, and excellent leader. The aims of Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur are creating the next generation of Muhammadiyah cadres, creating the people who are good at technology and information to develop the nation, and concerned with the sustainability of environment, also concerned with the product science and technology which are environmentally friendly. All the effort that we do are the form of our commitment in 2037 that Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur will be an Islamic university on base of excellent information and technology in many fields, and contributes on social and environmental issues